Hello and welcome back to Expeditions. I'm Vic and you're watching yet another Let's Play channel. Now, I did seriously consider putting the series on hold so that I can work on upgrades, as I have previously mentioned, and I think that's still on the table. But what I realized is that there are still several regions that I haven't unlocked, and I think it would be sort of unfair to do that off camera. So we're here to unlock the mountain labyrinths, and as usual, the game has offered to set me up at the wrong camp to do the mission, and it has failed to give me enough information prior to setting out to help me pick the correct camp. So I've decided that rather than just starting over, I'm just going to make the most of it, and we're going to go on an adventure. Well, it may actually not be all that much of an adventure, because now that I think about it, we've done basically this route before. But this particular path is, well, as I mentioned, it's fairly well traveled, and also allows me to hit a couple of airdrops and recoup some of my expenses. But you know what I realized? No, it's too far out of the way. We're not doing that. So let's just get to it. I brought my two usual guys, the Lodestar and the, you know what? I think I've done that before. Yeah. Lodestar and the Bandit. Because having not yet collected the upgrades, the Tatra Force is pretty unwieldy as yet. So we'll stick with what we know. And what we do know is that we can get pretty much anywhere we want to go in this region with our Bandit. Why does it weirdly get hung up sometimes? I think I'm starting to understand some of the physics stuff that's going on, and in order to explain it, I have to talk about space engineers, because I think there might be a similar thing going on. So although I haven't published any of it, I have spent a fair bit of time playing Space Engineers. To be honest, I haven't been terribly happy with the recent changes. The old game was more appealing to me, and my buddy Jin and I put in many hours doing co-op games in Asteroids once upon a time. My most recent attempt met with a great deal of difficulty. What is going on with my routing? I did not do much thinking about this part, is what's going on. Anyway, yeah, my most recent attempt was an attempt to start off on a planet, and although I certainly got going, I found that my usual objectives were pretty much off the table. Anyway, none of that is super important. So what's the important part? Well, the important part is, because I like to spend my time playing the game rather than shuttling resources around, as you might have gathered from my New Vegas playthrough, I went into the settings and I set all of the storage options to max, which I think is times 10. And what I found was I was actually able to load down a ship so heavily that it was unable to move. Well, what I learned is that although I had not installed enough engines on the ship to get it moving, I did have plenty of gyros on it. And what I learned was once the gyros, if I used the gyros to just kind of wiggle the ship a little bit, then suddenly I had enough thrust to move. And so there's just let's call it a quirk of the physics calculation that has some difficulty with that whole concept of overcoming inertia. And I think that's an interesting thing, because if you've studied much physics at all, then you may be aware that there is this concept of static friction and dynamic friction, where depending on whether the object you're interested in is currently sliding or not, the amount of friction it experiences changes. What the hell is going on here? Oh, tree stump. Okay. And so I kind of wonder if there is a similar sort of quirk that I occasionally trip over in expeditions. And this might help to explain actually the delayed steering problem, as well as the difficulty coming off the line problem. Because I just noticed, yeah, fuck you, Physics Rock, I see you. Get bent. I did notice just now that the Bandit was being stubbornly still until I wiggled the wheels, and then all of a sudden it was going. And so what I'm thinking is that there's some sort of friction calculation going on, and that's why I'm experiencing delayed steering, is because until I have a certain speed, the steering wheels are really only treated as providing power, or not, as the case may be, rather than providing steering. But without being intimately familiar with the physics code, it's a whole lot of speculation, interspersed with a fair bit of rambling when I had to let my brain do other things and not drive the talking. It's funny how that works, isn't it? You can just kind of put your mouth on autopilot sometimes and let it go. And other times the autopilot is just not happening. Alrighty. Oh, this is Rollover City, USA. I need to be careful here. Maybe I should just go swimming. I knew I was going to be dealing with water, so I did bring the no engine damage from water hydrologist. Also, I was required to bring an hydrologist, so double reason for it. Yeah, so the trick I've got to watch out for is driving perpendicular to the slope of the hill. That's when the rolling over happens, which is why I'm doing this sort of slalom thing. Is this really what I thought was a good idea? Yeah, it is. Is it a better idea to get out there? It might be. Let's go for it. Hashtag no water damage. Nope. 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 Oh, no rolling. Yeah, look at that. My truck is having an identity crisis right now. Am I a truck or am I a riverboat? And the answer is actually that the riverboating is going pretty damn well right now. So there's your answer. Fuck you, boat. You're not as boaty as I am. I can't even tell where my winch connected. But I am being carried by the current, so... Alright, and we're back in... Oh, is there a bridge here I can build? That would deplete me of all my spare parts. Let's think on that for a minute. I'm not inexcusably far from my airdrop. So let's do it. Ah, but I'm in the way. I needed 150? Well, god damn it. Fine. I didn't want to have a bridge anyway. Up we go. Now, the big problem in terms of realism with the delayed steering phenomenon is that it doesn't square with the way these things are built. Like, I've got 4 steering wheels on this vehicle, and they are under the cab, which is to say that the weight of the engine is on them. And that sucker, I can assure you, is not light. It may well be... Well, actually, no, I mean, my bed is fairly full, but I'm not carrying that much cargo. I'm carrying a couple 100 gallons of gasoline. So the weight in my bed is probably less than 1,000 pounds. Not knowing offhand what the density of gasoline, or diesel rather, is. So yeah, even when I'm pretty laden, I'm not that laden as trucks go. And the dominant weight probably is still the cab and the engine and all of the other shit that goes on up there. Wow, that doesn't look as passable as it does on the map, does it? But I think I might actually be able to do it right here. Yeah, that should do it. Nice. come on now. That ought to do us. Yeah. And up we go. Sweet. Now, one thing that I learned at some point, and I can't remember if I've ever mentioned this on camera, but it turns out that stuff that you leave in the storage that's available in your bases persists in your bases rather than getting sold at the end of the mission. Right, that's where I was going with that. I think what I want to do is this instead. Yeah. And generally speaking, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because it means that if I want to, I can go out and sort of prep the area for a mission. I can go out and raid some supply drops, and I can get myself really extra loaded up. But it is sort of annoying when you think that you're bringing out a huge pile of like dinosaur bones and stuff, and then it turns out that the dinosaur bones are just sitting around in storage, not making you money. So, something to bear in mind, I guess. I continue to be sort of intrigued by the choices that they made that distinguish SnowRunner from Expeditions. Since I'm mentioning stuff that's persistent in world and not. Because, especially considering that I might choose to, do the staging that I just talked about in preparation for a mission, in terms of putting out supplies and stuff, doesn't it also make sense that I might go out and place some vehicles for the same purpose, even though I cannot do that? I could in SnowRunner, which is my point. I'm really riding the razor here on rolling over. Nice. Very nice. And the thing is, it must have been what amounted to a game balance decision, right? They must have said, no, we don't want you to be sneaky like that. There will be no planning ahead and staging vehicles for yourself to support your expeditions. You're being really finicky right now, Bandit. What's the deal? Also, is it just me, or am I not taking any vehicle damage? That little bounce just now, that should have cost me some engine damage, shouldn't it? Historically, it would have cost me some engine damage, and so would that. That for sure would have. Huh. Maybe there was a balance update that I missed out on, or that I overlooked, rather. Here again, we're looking at Rollover Central. And it would be especially inconvenient to do a big old rollover and fall down that cliff, I think. So I'd like to avoid that if possible. And I am not doing a good job so far. Oh, but I think I avoided it. Okay. Yes, thank you for your service tree. Now I run you over. Your watch is ended. And down. And we are still on the superfluous part of this mission, by the way. We are not even to the part where it overlaps with where we would have done if we had started in the right place. Just pure nonsense. Alright. Well, we'll get some monies out of this. Sweet. And down we go. I can imagine how gut-wrenching it must be to be sitting in the driver's seat while you go down a hill like that. Even though it is generally one of the less frustrating things I do in the game, I still think it's probably a little upsetting to look down a steep grade like that. Alright, let's remain calm. Even though it's fairly flat here, I am still at risk of a surprise rollover due to physics rocks being physics rocks. So this is a good time to not get cocky. Did I run out of beacons already? Thought I had more beacons than that. I might have canceled some while I was trying to redo my route. Yeah, I think that's true. So here's where I come to an interesting bit, I think. Because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not reading a very good way to get from here to, say, here, where it starts looking like there's a route again. So, let's just keep going. Worry about that later. Now, returning to the topic of the physics glitch, there are moments like that one where it just feels like first gear isn't quite enough to get the bandit moving. And that is not necessarily a glitch. That could also just be actual physics. Although, you know, sort of like how none of my cars can reverse while they are in low gear. I think there are plenty of transmissions that don't like to switch between the low and high gears while they're in motion. So using low gear to get off the line and then switching into high gears is not necessarily very realistic. Like my 4Runner, for example, I can switch between high 2 and high 4 at, I think, up to 40 miles per hour. But switching between high 4 and low 4, I believe I need to be at a standstill. It's been a while since I felt a need to put the 4Runner in low 4, to be honest. Most days, I don't even need four-wheel drive. When I do need four-wheel drive, high 4 is plenty. And occasionally, I do also need to lock my rear differential. Am I out of beacons again? I'm out of beacons again. So certainly it does look like there is an option to climb the ridge, and then I think that gets me to a route. I might have to climb ridge anyway. Let's consider that possibility. If I'm climbing a ridge anyway, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it right now. I would dearly like to just drive through these fallen trees, but I don't think that's an option for me. So what do we got? I can drive through these saplings. Well, that went well, didn't it? No, this is not the way. Wait a minute, I drove through that lake and I did not see a drowned car. But also, it looks like maybe if I go back to the lake and loop around, then I'm going to have more downed trees to contend with. No? Yeah, that's not going to work. I'm curious about that. Oh, it's right there. It's just not one I can rescue, so I just immediately ignored it. Alright, so what are we going to do here? Can I pull it out of the way? This would totally be a thing that I could do with a winch. Why? Alright, well, I'm all out of time, so come back and see me again next time, and maybe I will have worked out what to do, and maybe I won't. Talk to you soon.